expecting out of today? Out of this session? What do you think? I'm talking to the people that look like students here. Okay. What are you expecting? What do you think we're going to do? See trees? Well, guess what? Not on the slideshow. But outside, the second session, we're gonna be outside. We are going to play in the woods. It's gonna be fun.
Second session too.
Yeah, yeah. What are you expecting, environmental science guy? You don't know. Are you excited or are you terrified? I don't know why. You should be terrified.
Yes.
Are you excited or terrified?
Now I'm thinking more terrified.
At least you're honest. Are you excited or terrified? Wait a minute. It says Stephen and Tomer.
So confusing. Oh.
Your honorary and
My actual.
Tomer. Okay, Tomer. I can do Tomer. I may not remember Tomer, but I can do Tomer. As long as you always keep it showing. That'll be great. I can.
Uh-oh.
No, I won't confuse you with Stephen. That's all right. I got the Tomer part. At least while I'm reading it, I've got the Tomer part. What are you expecting? You don't know a whole lot. Oh,
Good place to be.
okay.
We can fill in the gap.
Yeah. Well, I think we should
I think
start.
we should too.
Okay.
Taconic will come in.
So, what I want to do first, before we do anything else, is introduce the two people who are here to terrorize you. I'm Ann Lewis. I work at the Harvard Forest, only very little part-time. I'm mostly retired, but you'd never know it. I just do things that don't bring money in, which means I volunteer a lot, but this is a paid job. I am a scientist. The Harvard Forest is calling me an ecologist, but I'm not an ecologist. I'm really somebody who's interested in how to plumb trees. And that doesn't mean make them straight. It means how to make water go up and down in them. Actually, I don't want to make water go up and down in them. Trees are really good at that. I want to know how they do it and what the dynamics are inside the wood. So that's my thing. So if you come and do the outside thing and I get started on water transport inside of trees, understand where I'm coming from and say, refocus, please. Okay. But I am a PhD. I was a faculty member at the forestry department at UMass Amherst. And I love research and I love teaching. And I especially like trying to terrorize junior high and high school students and college students too. So that's who I am. And I'm going to talk on the first part of this, but before we do that, please.
Oh, this is Katharine Hinkle. I recognize some faces. I've been around Envirothon for a few years now. I'm the youth education manager at Harvard Forest. So one of my jobs is running our participatory science projects where we partner with K-12 schools to collect ecological data in their schoolyards, contribute to our 20-year database of student-generated information about climate change factors in their communities. It's pretty amazing, awesome stuff. And I'm really excited today to tell you about the Our Changing Forest program, which you guys have the opportunity to opt into. So if you're excited after our time today, you can tell me like you're ready to participate, and then I or someone from DCR will come to your school. We'll help you set up a permanent plot so that you can begin being part of this study that we're going to be telling you all about. So that's what I do at Harvard Forest, and yeah, we're excited to be here.
That's
awesome.
right. And you might see me again at your school, but
And
your
I'll be judging you
teachers.
this spring.
Yeah, Your teachers will definitely be seeing me when they come to workshops at the
Yeah.
Harvard Forest. Okay, although
Well,
I have,
maybe I should have said, well, I could talk about that later, but teachers, once you join the program, then you have all these free workshops and professional development open for you that we're excited to.
that are a
talk to.
lot of fun, actually. We don't terrorize teachers. We only terrorize
Yeah, just the-
students. It's no fun to terrorize teachers. I need a thingy, Bobby. Is this the thingy?
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
It's the top one,
No.
the middle. Oh, 2 arrows? And I hit both of them at the same
Nope,
time?
Just those are one will advance.
Oh, hey, I got it. Am I technologically challenged? Yeah. Okay, so that's me. And I want to know what forests are made of. And I know you guys know it, but tell me. Thank you.
Mhm.
What's the definition of a really broad definition of a forest? A lot of trees that grow together. Yeah, okay. We don't need to be technical about that. So I know that you don't have paper and pencil with you necessarily, unfortunately. But I want you, each and every one of you, to picture a tree. I'm going to give you not quite a minute, but I'm going to give you some time to think about this tree that you're picturing. And if you need to close your eyes, do that. If you want to draw it in that white space on the board in your mind, do it. So think about what that tree looks like and draw it in your mind. Get a good picture of it.
The group just joined us.
Hi, group that just joined us. Is that Dan? No, that's
This is
Dan. Okay. Oh, the camera's probably up there. Hi,
Yeah.
group that joined us. We are picturing in our minds a tree. And in a minute, I'm going to ask people what their trees look like. And I'm just giving you time to really think about this tree. Okay. Who would like to tell me about their tree? Guys, you're in a room full of adults. You're sort of really messed up because this room is yours. Can you tell me about your tree? Speak up so we can all hear you.
I pictured like a birch tree.
A little birch tree. And what's that little birch tree look like? Okay. 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 All right.
Right.
Okay.
Yellow.
And the leaves are yellow.
I
Ooh,
can picture that.
it
Thank you.
must
That was very
be-
descriptive.
must be in the fall. That's really good. What's your tree look like? Did everybody in this room hear that? I don't think so.
Thought of a big oak tree with green leaves.
Thank you. A big oak tree with green leaves. Can you tell me a little bit more about this oak? It's in a clearing, so it's standing by itself. Okay. Okay. What's your tree look like? I won't ask what kind of pine, but okay. And what does it look like? Is it tall? Is it short? Is it big? Is it small? Is it got leaves? Okay. Anything else about it? Big around? What color is it? Green? The whole tree? Oh, the needles are green. Okay. What color is the stem? Brown. How about your tree?
Big tree with a big broad crown. Delicate fork in the middle.
You guys are trying to prove that you know something about trees, but I've got each and every one of you. Describe your tree, please. Yes. Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about it?
I'm getting married in
It's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good work. Tell me about your tree.
Kind of like a park.
Okay.
Added, I was also thinking of root through the trunk.
Thank you. You guys, each and every one of you only described about half of your tree. That's typical. Don't worry. I expected that. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had anything to talk about. Roots, tell me more about your tree.
So mine is like, you know, a large oak tree.
Okay.
But also a big extensive, root system under.
And do you know what that underground root system looks like?
I mean, I have my visioning,
Okay,
so I mean, I guess I could describe that, right?
just briefly, yeah.
So some large structures at the top, but then lots of smaller.
Okay, fine roots. Yeah, good. Did anybody else picture roots on their trees? Raise your hands. Oh, good. Okay, awesome. Yes, the trees that we talk about have roots. It's something that even scientists forget sometimes. Okay. I am always the person in a seminar that says, well, you've described the biomass, but you're not describing the biomass of the root system. You're forgetting half of the mass of the tree. Okay, we're going to move on. So think of all of your trees. Maybe they're growing in a forest. And there's one thing that you guys also forgot about trees that live around here. If an alien arrives in December, spaceship lands out in the forest here, what does he think or she think about most of the trees? Maybe no leaves. Almost, maybe not half the year. They don't have leaves on them. That's just weird. Okay? But think about that because we always think of trees with leaves. Not all trees have leaves. That is all the time. If we think of a forest with trees and leaves, sometimes leaves and sometimes not, but root systems, how do those forests change? Just yell out some things that happen in forests in ways that make them change, or in that which they do change. Disease. What's disease do? Kills some trees, makes others sick. Okay? Might change what they look like. Something else. Dry weather. What does that do?
It can grow.
Okay, can slow growth. It doesn't usually increase growth.
Probably increase wildfire.
Okay, can cause, yep. Okay, good. What else do forests do as they're changing? How do they change? They grow, they get bigger in general. It's amazing. You put a radio tower up and you've aimed it over the top of the trees to the antenna that it needs to beam to. And 10 years later, you've got to move your radios because the trees are in the way. Harvard Forest has this problem.
We do. It's very real for us.
In fact, my husband is out there today moving radios because the trees got too big.
Pesky trees.
We build towers at the Harvard Forest in order to get above the canopy. And you know what we have to do? We have to take down those towers and build new ones after 30 years because the trees have gotten too
They're always
tall.
getting in the way of us studying
Big
them.
trees, they're just
Can't
so
live
hard to
without
work
them.
with. Okay. We've talked about some of the things that cause forests to change? What are some other things besides drought and what was the other? Disease. Oh, warming temperatures. If trees get too hot, they don't like it any more than we do, right? Okay. It can slow growth. It might, in some cases, increase growth. Poison ivy loves warm weather.
Super.
It grows like mad in my yard. And you'll say, that's not a tree. In Michigan, it can grow as a tree. My grandmother had a farm. She had 3 poison ivy trees with diameters like this that were about 30 feet tall. Those were impressive trees. Well, yeah, in the winter. Well, they were out where nobody went. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed there. What else makes forests change? Fires, invasive species. Like what? Human actions. Construction, logging. Okay. All right, good. Why do we want to study how forests change? That's what we're here for. Our changing forests. Why do we want to know? Why does it make a difference? Can anybody guess? Okay, I'm not going to give answers to this one, and I'm not going to prod you. I'm going to make you think about this one.
Right, it's literally my whole career. So if you say like there's no reason, it's totally worthless, I will be personally sad.
I'm going to make you think about this one. We're going to come back to that. Why would we want to know how forests change? We meaning human beings. Scientists specifically, but how does that impact what we do? If you choose to do so, your mission, I can't repeat this. If you choose to accept it, is to initially, with Katharine's help, put in a 10 by 10 meter plot. That means nothing to you now. By the end of the day, you're going to know exactly what 10 meters is. Okay. We're going to make sure you know what 10 meters is. A 10-meter plot. And in that plot, you're going to number the trees. So each tree has a number. And you number them, interestingly, with little aluminum nails and aluminum tags. Why do we use aluminum? It must be hard to put an aluminum nail into an oak. It is actually.
It does, it gets kind of bent.
Yeah, you drill the tree first. Why would you use aluminum? Think, put your thinking caps on. This is critical thinking. This is the one thing of all the things that if you're going to learn anything in school, I want you to learn is how to think critically. I don't care if
how to think about aluminum nails in a tree. I mean, it is actually important.
What do we know about aluminum? It doesn't break because it bends, it's malleable, it's soft. What happens if you're cutting a tree down with a chainsaw and you hit an iron nail? Oh, it can be really ugly. It can really hurt. Not just the chainsaw and the tree, it can hurt the person who's sawing or people nearby. If you cut an aluminum nail, guess what? Cuts right through it. Doesn't break the saw teeth, doesn't break the saw blade, doesn't throw pieces of metal at the person who's cutting. So you'll use aluminum nails. You will identify every tree by species. By the end of the day, if you don't know them now, you will know most of the tree species around here or how to figure it out. Or somebody on your team will know because not everybody is going to all the workshops. And then you're going to measure the diameter of the trees at breast height. This is a standard forestry measurement. breast height is 4.5 feet above the ground. We've got tools so that you're consistent about measuring at 4.5 feet. And we use do you have one with you?
Yep.
We use something called a diameter tape. And I hate to tell you this, we're going to do some math. We're going to a little bit of math. Okay, I'm a tree. This is 4.5 feet.
Yeah, it's roughly shoulder height.
What's my diameter at 4.5 feet? Don't stick me with the tip of that. It's sharp.
So wait, let's think about diameter though. Let's take it
Yeah,
back to
no.
middle school though. Yeah.
No, we're going to do diameter.
We are, okay.
Yeah, we're going to do
So if
diameter.
I'm just doing the measurement,
Yeah, you're just
know.
doing the measurement. Oh,
lasso.
she got my shoulders, not my neck.
No. Well, it is at shoulder.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
All right, so at DBH, Anne is roughly, 35.2.
What?
What do you guys think? Inches?
Feet? Who can guess? Seems like what?
Centimeters, yeah.
Oh, did you say inches? Yeah, well, that's better than thinking it was feet.
Yeah.
Okay. I may be a big person, but I'm not that big. We're going to do, anybody who comes to the outside thing is going to learn units so that you will never forget what units you're working with. So we're going to use a diameter tape to measure trees at breast height, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to record all the data. Eventually, you're going to graph the data. And although you're all you four are high school students, aren't you? And have you ever done a graph by hand? Really? You've done graphs by hand? You've done graphs by, awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't start graphing by hand. And personally, I think the only way to really understand what a graph is to do it by hand. But we also have software on our website that will graph your data for you if you choose to do it that way. And then you're going to analyze the data, and we'll talk about that later. I don't want to talk about what the graphs are going to look like. I want to go down to this because we were talking about diameter at breast height. And you'll notice that Katharine used a tape that went around my body. What was she actually measuring? Was she measuring diameter? What's the outside distance around a circle called? The perimeter or circumference?
Yeah.
Okay. She was actually measuring the circumference. But that tape is really smart because it's not numbered like it's measuring real distance. It's numbered using an equation to convert that distance around the tree, this distance around the tree, into a diameter number. You know, as your students, that the circumference is 2. So the circumference, it's pi times the diameter. Well, if you take a tape and measure the circumference, pi d, if you divide both sides of that equation by pi, pi stays there, you get rid of it there, because it's 1. Equation looks like this, but I reversed it so it'd be easy for you to pick it out. The diameter is the circumference divided by pi. And that's what the tape is measuring.
And so your team will get some of this fancy forestry tape to do that, but I have to tell you, some teams actually reject my tape and the teacher has them measure the circumference and then do the math.
Oh,
Just saying it's an option.
that's either fancy or mean. I don't know which. It's the kind of thing I would do. Okay, Does that make sense to everybody in the room? Teachers, even you can admit that you're not following it, okay?
Sometimes I tell elementary school
Yeah.
kids that or middle school kids that we were gonna have to cut down the tree to measure the diameter.
Oh,
And I'm
you
like,
do
okay.
not.
And then they're like, and I'm like, don't worry, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna cut down your precious tree.
You're even meaner than I am.
I know.
Okay, so back up here. So you were going to ask what your graphs might look like. You should ask that. And what you want to know what you can tell from them. Look at this first graph. This is real, these are real numbers from Gardner High School and a survey that was done in 2013. Students did this. This is stand density versus species. Okay? I don't know if you can read it from there. Beech, hemlock, red maple, red oak, yellow birch. Based on the number of stems in a plot, what is the most common species there? Hemlock. It's got the biggest bar. Okay? What's the least common species there?
Yeah, it's a little small, but
It's a tie.
yeah.
Okay, it's a tie between yellow birch and red oak. But if we think about what we want to know about what's growing in a stand, maybe we don't really want to know what species are most common. Maybe we want to know what diameter class is most common. So this is stem density by diameter class. Okay? And it's in increments of 10. Why it says, my husband's a mathematician and he ought to know that you can't label something 1 to 10 and 10 to 20, because then you put the 10s in both groups. I don't know what the programming is here. I suspect that it's not 10 to 20, but it's anything over 10 up to 20.
I've never noticed that before.
I hadn't noticed it before either, and I
Our
helped him
husband's
with
the one who
these.
designed the software, so that's
Yeah.
why it's we're giving it.
Well, and worst yet is I helped him with it, and I didn't notice that.
You guys are welcome.
So what is the biggest group of trees in this plot? Can you read those numbers? Okay, what are the biggest groups of trees? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it matter what species they are? You can't tell from that graph, can you? No, not at all. What diameter classes are missing in the plot? Lots of diameter classes.
Yeah, but is it like smaller? Is it bigger? Yeah.
All the big ones, right? And then there's some, you know what? Actually, if you look at these graphs carefully, and I won't go through it now, this is one tree.
Yeah, I was thinking that's probably one
That's one tree.
on the large side.
Yeah, okay. Actually, it's one humongous tree.
Yeah.
So we also can calculate, and our program, our website will do this calculation for you, because doing the calculation is, figuring out how to do the calculation is really complicated. And actually processing the equation is not trivial either. So you can figure out how much carbon biomass is in this tree. And I will tell you, he doesn't label it here. Shame on him. Badly labeled graph. It's above ground biomass. Remember, what do trees have? Roots. Not taken into account here. And then here, oh, this is biomass, carbon biomass by species, and then it was carbon biomass by diameter class. Okay?
Yeah, and can I interject a little
Yeah,
bit here? Just
sure.
very briefly, like this is the crux of why we're doing this project. So if you haven't like been given this information yet, you'll learn it by the end of the day. The current issue this year for Envirothon is thinking about how forests are helping us fight climate change and what is the role that forests play in thinking about that. And it's this thing, this is why we want to have you help you guys set up a forest plot in your schoolyards so that you can figure out thinking about what is that carbon storage that's happening in your forest so that you can use that data as part of your current issue project that you're going to be doing.
Yeah. As a general rule, very general rule, forests store carbon.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Celebrate.
Okay.
Woo!
All right. So these are some of the graphs that you'll see that you'll make. Oh, I wanted to point out, you have a 10 by 10 plot, right? Meters, 10 by 10 meter plot. What's the stem density by? What's the,
Yeah, do you see, yeah, do you
what's
know
the
that?
area
You may
here?
not
Do you know
that.
what HA stands for? Anybody? Hectares. Is that a
super
10 by 10 meter plot? No. Do you think in a 10 by 10 meter plot, you actually this much stem density? I don't think so. Okay. More math. It's the last math today. No, it's not
I was
the
about
last
to say,
math
she's
today.
lying. It's not.
It's not the last math today. I lied. 10 by 10 meter plot. Multiply 10 by 10. You get 10 times 10 is 100. I can do that even in my head. Meters on each side by meters on the other side, meters squared. It's 100 meter squared plot. A hectare is 10,000 meters squared. What do you multiply your plot by to calculate up to a hectare? Assuming that your plot is representative of the forest that it's in, and you want to use a number that you can talk to other foresters about to compare forests or to compare schools. If you want to multiply your 10 by 10 meter plot by the number of trees in your 10 by 10 meter plot, what do you multiply it by to get to a 1 hectare plot? I know you guys know this. It says it right up on the board. You multiply it by 100. Because 100 times your 100 square meter plot is 10,000 square meters or 1 hectare. So if you have 2 paper birches in your plot and somebody wants to know how many paper birches per hectare are you likely to have, how many paper birches are you likely to have per hectare? What do you multiply it by? Catherine's giving you the hint. You multiply it by 100.
I needed to be the nicest for a
Okay.
second.
You multiply it by 100. So if you had a 1 hectare plot, you're likely to have 200 paper birches in it if your plot is representative of the rest of the forest. Okay. Guess what? Unless your teachers are mean and make you do this, you don't have to do it because our computer system does this for you. Aren't we so nice? See, I'm not as mean as you think I am. We did this already. And I'm not going to talk about allometry, but sometimes I will talk about basal area. And basal area is the area that the tree covers at breast height. If you were to cut it down at 4.5 feet off the ground, it's the area that that stem is, okay? And you all know how to use the geometric equations. Area is pi r squared, right? You know the diameter when you measure your tree, correct? How do you get radius from diameter? I didn't hear. You have it, not H-A-V-E, but H-A-L-V-E, you have it. And so it's your DBH divided by 2 squared times pi gives you the area, the basal area. Why they call it basal area when it's measured 4.5 feet above the ground? Don't ask. I don't think anybody knows. It's just the way it's done. Okay? You will be calculating basal area. That's one of the things foresters really want to know. When they go in to measure the amount of timber they're going to get out in a cut, they usually calculate that by basal area. We're getting so many square feet or whatever it is of oak and so many of birch and so many of this. And it helps them know that if they've got like 100 times as much white oak as they have birch, they've got a really valuable woodlot to cut. Okay. Again, I just want to show you some graphs that people have done. This is a schoolyard project Mass Audubon has done at Drumlin Farm in Lincoln, Mass. Here's their stand density by year. Okay. And should I go? I won't go into line graphs versus bar graphs. Okay.
We're just giving a broad
So
overview.
look at the measurements that happened. What is weird about that upper graph? This is stand density by year. All of a sudden, in the year 2023, the trees that were there don't seem to be there in 2024. Do you think somebody just forgot to measure trees? Or do you think they had some logging? Or some windfall? Or we don't measure dead standing trees? Maybe it was oaks and the spongy moth, which you probably know as gypsy moth, it's now called the spongy moth, killed the oaks. It was a large crop. And so they probably lost 1 or 2 big trees, or 3 or 4 big trees, unless there was a big blowdown, and I don't think they had a big blowdown. Here's carbon biomass by year. Is it the same plot? Well, we can't tell, can we? Because we don't know how many plots they have. Oh, this is it. That's
Yeah,
it. Okay, that's the same plot. Even I don't know how to read the graphs. So the carbon biomass didn't drop very much, did it? Didn't keep going up at the same rate. What do you think we can tell about what happened there by looking at those 2 graphs? Do you think we lost 1 big tree or lots of little trees? Can you tell? Not really. But you can make a guess. Okay. So
Carbon biomass stand, like between live and dead trees.
it's not much different. Most of the carbon biomass is in the wood.
Correct, so dead trees would.
Wood, yeah, except that in our plots, we don't measure dead trees. If you know it's dead, we don't measure it.
Yeah, but we do, we actually do measure the dead stand. It's only once they're fallen.
Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
thought it was a dead.
Yeah, we measure it until it's all the way.
Excuse
full.
me, she does this more than I do. Believe her, don't believe me.
Every protocol is a
Okay.
little different, so.
Catherine,
yeah,
how
so-
much, I hope you have enough
Yeah,
time.
no, this is great. So we have about, like just about 20-ish or so
Yeah,
minutes left
that's
in the
good.
workshop. So what I'm going to do for this next little part is just tell you a little bit about our project as a whole. So like by participating in our Changing Forests program, like what are you getting out of it this year? What are you getting out of it in future years? Like what have we done? So I mentioned earlier, our Changing Forest is part of the Schoolyard Ecology program at Harvard Forest, which is actually in its 20th year. And I feel very privileged that I get to like shepherd it into its next 20 years, let's say. But this is these are participatory or citizen science projects that are done by students in their communities so that we can get a better sense of different factors of climate change and how they're affecting different neighborhoods. So at Harvard Forest, there's all kinds of amazing research that I hope you guys will someday come out to Harvard Forest and get a chance to see that's happening looking at climate scale through the lenses of invasive pests and pathogens. That's something we study a lot. We study carbon storage, and we also look at like disturbances. And that's really what we're looking at with our Changing Forest is, you know, human-caused disturbances as well as like windstorms and natural disturbances like that. Cool. So I want to tell you, so I'll tell you a little bit about like who we are, what we're doing, and then like how you guys can continue to get involved and why you should get involved because it's really, really fun. So this is the purpose that we have in our program here. So we really want to connect all of you guys with the natural setting of where your school is and really see that you can use science as a tool to help you better understand how climate change is affecting your neighborhoods. And also help to think about immediate solutions. This is really, we want you guys to see yourselves as not just in the future, like problem solvers in your communities, but the right now. Like you guys can be the experts in the right now on what's happening in, you know, your neighborhoods and how you can tell your neighbors and your community members about it. And so that's what we support. We support training you guys on how to do the science, how to report it out. And we have a lot of fun along the way. It's also really great because you just get to be outside and, you know, learn that way. So this is just some of us. So we have other project ecologists because we do run 3 projects and the, you know, wonderful support team at Harvard Forest of our ecologists and network of educators and students. So currently we have about 88 active schools who are participating in our programs in one of these 3 projects. And the blue ones are sort of like the kind of active ones, but you can see we also have a lot of schools that have participated and, you know, haven't been able to keep it going, but we still have their data. Because that's a key part of what we do is you guys are collecting data in your neighborhoods, we're storing it and we make it publicly available for you guys to use, for other schools to use, for researchers to use. And we've been doing this for 20 years. So we have over 50,000 data points in this database. It's very robust. All of the data that goes in there is like vetted and reviewed and we feel really good about it. We feel like it's something that's really, it's good data.
Solid data.
Solid. We work really hard at this. But you can see that we have like a really large spread. So we have a network of schools in New York City. We've got data that's coming in from New Hampshire all the way out to the Cape and to you know, the Berkshire Western Mountains. I had to make a choice on the slide. I couldn't show my full map, but we do actually have a network of schools in Georgia who are participating. We have our Changing Forest school in Georgia who collects data. And we have a school in Washington, D.C. that's actively collecting data for a different project. So it's really cool. You can ask our database a lot of questions. You can do a ton of comparison, comparing and contrasting different regions and how they're affected because the plot you're setting up is standard. Everyone's doing it in the same way, which means you can make really cool comparisons. We are also hopeful that once your team gets involved, this is something that will continue to happen. You only need to monitor your plots every year or so. So it's a pretty small ask, but you get a lot out of it. And our educators, you know, over 30% of them have been with us for 5 years, continuing to keep their teams and classrooms involved in this, continue to come to our workshop. We have a really thriving network of educators. We have a lot of fun. We've got 3 workshops a year to support the teachers. We run field trips and the longer we get data from your area, the more robust and interesting it becomes. We have some schools that have been participating not for the entire 20 years, but let's see, Tewksbury Memorial High School, I think is our kind of our winner chicken dinner. They've been participating they're in their 18th year of collecting for our project. Drumlin Farm has been going for just about 15 years. We have a few other schools, so we have some really interesting data from those sites, and we're hopeful that your schools will begin to contribute. Cool, and so just as an overview, just so you can see, we have some other projects, they may be of interest. So buds, leaves, and global warming is one where you're looking at, you're looking at the foliage of the tree. So when do the leaves come out in the spring? When do they fall? And we can give you a growing season for that. We also do have a monitoring program looking at the hemlock woolly adelgid, which is an invasive pest that is on hemlock trees. And then so our Changing Forest, that's the one that we're doing with this particular project. So we're looking at how do forests grow and change through time, and how, might that influence our future world, right? Our forests are going to play a huge role in climate mitigation and how we manage our forests and do that responsibly. And we can only do that by understanding what is in our forest, which is what you'll be doing. That's really key, especially in the New England region, to how we're going to face climate change. Ooh. So this is just, again, we've looked at little graphs already. I just wanted to show you a couple of like on the ground what it looks like, and just give a shout out to, that's Nauset High School. I think they had like a spirit day that day. I just really love this image. You can see a lot of construction. They've been going for about 6 or 7 years now with their plot. See how there's all that construction that's happening? So their school was actually slated to cut down their forest plot, their 10 meter by 10 meter plot, because they were expanding the parking lot. And these amazing golden aliens, or whatever they are, they actually like fought for and lobbied to make sure they kept their plot. So you can see there's like a little buffer thing. And so they're just like, everything's cut down, but they have their,
They've got their 10
meter by 10 meter plot. So they were able to save their trees. And so what you guys will be getting out of this is you're going to be able to calculate carbon storage for your plot. That's going to help you think about in your neighborhoods, in your community, how are forests helping fight climate change. You'll be able to put numbers to things and take that to your school, to your town, to say, hey, this is what we have in the forests in our town in general. This is what we have in our trees in our neighborhoods. This is how we're helping, and this is how we need to manage them. And that's like how we manage, that'll be your current issue project. But the numbers you get from doing that or Changing Forests are going to help inform the choices and decisions that you're going to be making for your project. It also lets you see like trends over time and make some interesting comparisons. So again, it's really, really small, but I put up Groton Dunstable High School on that graph on the left is in pink, and then Nauset, which is this group here, that's in blue. You can just see that there's, when we look across our state, there are some very varied forests. We don't have the same composition. If you live out on the Cape, you have a lot more pitch pine than you would if you're in like central Massachusetts. And it's kind of interesting to see where those differences are and how that transition happens. I think you can learn a lot from that. Cool. And that's another group studying. Actually, I think they're at that one image is from. Oh no, that's from that plot in Lowell that we have to fix.
Oh,
That's the group. So it's not just classrooms that participate. So we have a lot of after-school clubs and groups. So that little circle image is a group out of Lowell called the Environmental Youth Task Force.
And is that an aluminum nail with an aluminum tag?
It sure is.
good eye.
So this is, at 10:25 or so, in about 20 minutes, we are going to go out. Some of you I know are going to go to a different workshop and other people will join us. But if you can continue, the fun part is when we go outside. But we're going to show you guys how we record it, what kind of information you're getting. We're going to set up a plot that's actually going to be a permanent plot here that Envirothon can revisit again and again when we come out for workshops. You can see it's fairly straightforward, like the basic information that we need for our database to like do all those like carbon biomass calculations and all of that we were looking at. We want to know the tree species because there are differences in how different species store things. We want to know the diameter of breast height, which we've been talking about. And then we want to know if it's living or dead. So pretty straightforward. Like this is, and you can actually, once you know how to do this, it's very easy to go out, collect the data. The setup of the plot is the thing that takes a long time. But once you have one, and we're going to help you guys set up plots in your school areas, kind of going out and, doing this measurement every year is something that takes maybe a half hour once a year. But we also have you every few years do what's called a site survey sheet where you're taking in everything else that's going on in your forest. So we're, focused in on a 10 meter by 10 meter plot, but we also want to look at things like, is it flat? Is it hilly? Is it rocky? bringing in all of those other Envirothon things. So thinking about soils, thinking about water, thinking about animals, like what kind of evidence of any kind of animals might you see in that plot, all of that information. And we'll take a look at that when we get outside. We'll go through and actually practice collecting that data.
It's just really cool
Oh.
because
Wait, let me run this back and like, so I started as a way to amplify the voices of students who are participating in our Changing Forest program and our schoolyard projects. I made a podcast that you can listen to on Spotify. You can be my 15th through 30th followers if all of you guys are following me, like all of you. You should do that. But our very first episode, there's like 4 episodes up there. Our first episode is just like, who are we and what are we doing? So I pulled out a few audio clips just so you can hear from, you'll hear from 3 different educators and 2 different students who've been participating in the program. And I've got their names up there so you can see who they are, just so you can get a sense of like, what is the impact of participating? How does it help with learning? Oh, no.
it's just really cool because this is the I wrote it on mainly juniors and seniors, so 16 to 18-year-olds. It's the childlike wonder comes out of them.
I want to continue doing this kind of hands-on research, like through college and also after college, you know.
It shows like music is very big, it's not only one thing. So being able to do it in high school and open up like different opportunities that I think about during college and after college.
I did an NVIDIA survey and they all write how meaningful this is to get outside for mental health and also just going from being tree blind to seeing trees all the time now.
So they're like, yes, we used to communicate because otherwise you can slide forward. They become not just part of the data collection, but they become part of the solution.
Leading question. It's actually leading witness. But they love it. It's so much fun getting to do this kind of hands-on work. And the research is important. We really value the research that comes in from your stations. The scientists at Harvard Forest take it really seriously. They're always really interested and engaged to hear what the students are finding out. So this is how you can get involved today. Today, you will tell your coach, oh my gosh, we should do it. And then your coach will say, hey, Katharine, can we do it? And then I will write your name down and we'll get you on the list. So that is, that's what's going to happen. So today is the day we're gathering names, and some schools do already have a plot that was established maybe by a former teacher. So I don't know if any of you guys are, so Brockton and Acton Boxborough and Minuteman Tech actually have plots already. Oh wait, Acton Boxborough, I take it all back. Are you Acton Boxborough? Okay, I actually you're in our database, but for a different project. I misspoke. You guys did the Buds, and Global Warming project a number of years ago. So we actually do need to set up a forest plot if you choose to accept the mission. We can come out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So yeah, I think of the teams who are registered right now, it's just Minuteman Tech and Brockton already have a site. But we have the materials and resources and time to come out to you guys and help get these plots established. So you can join in on the fun.
And I want to point, if you're a city school and you don't have any trees in your schoolyard, you can use a neighboring park or something like that. It doesn't have to be.
Because we have 2 urban schools who are doing our Changing Forest. So we have Codman Academy in Dorchester. They have a small park like right next to their campus. They actually planted it themselves. It's a microforest. If you guys have ever heard of the microforest movement. And so we have their microforest in, which is really fun because the trees are all really tiny. So we'll be able to monitor the full growth of that, which was exciting. And we know exactly when the trees were planted and what species they are, all of that. And then we have a group in Brooklyn who goes to, their school happens to be right across the street from Fort Greene Park. And so they go across the street to do the measurement there. Brooklyn Tech, yeah. Cool. Yeah, the 2 students whose voices, they are students at Brooklyn Tech.
So,
know, 2 or 3 Envirothon field trips out of school days is about my capacity for class and with kids, so. Oh, sorry. Workshops. Oh, these are just options, and they could be for this year, they could be for future years. I'm just letting you know, like, once you kind of are tapped into our community, what are the types of things you can do moving into the future? None of this is required. This is all just extra. It's an extra invitation.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
all. So I do have an educator newsletter that comes out a few times a year. We do monthly Zoom calls for the teachers. Again, not mandatory, just really fun, a nice way to connect with other educators who are interested in getting their students doing hands-on science. And we have workshops to support the work, and which again, all optional, just things you can come to. And we'd love to have you. And you can follow me. You can be my 17th through 35th follower on Instagram. And that is a QR code for our newsletter sign up. And that's me. I also have a business card if you want to take it that way, or just take a picture of the slide. But yeah, we invite you to participate in our program. We're a pretty thriving and growing network of schools, youth groups, nature clubs, after school clubs, and now Envirothon teams who, are out there collecting the data that is really essential. I keep hitting the button. Sorry. I know, I just stopped fiddling. Cool. All right, so yeah, what questions might you have? I'm curious if any of you are like, yes, definitely sign me up. We have an idea of where this might go in our school. We have about 10 minutes before we transition to the next workshop. I was thinking this might be a good time to do some of our units talk.
Answer the question about why we do.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's loop back to that question.
Yeah. Let's do that before we do
Yeah.
units things.
So you may remember Anne asked this question at the very beginning of our time together here in this room of why is it that, and we could talk a little bit about the mega plot actually.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about the
You
mega
talk
plot.
about the mega plot.
All right. So so the question on the floor that we still haven't answered is, why do we do plot work like this? Why are scientists interested in honing in on small portions of a forest and looking and thinking about how forests grow and change through time? So all of the projects that we do in the schoolyard program are based off of research that happens at Harvard Forest. So they're all like inspired by work that's already ongoing in a slightly different way. And then we've just scaled it to be happening at schools. So the Our Changing Forest program is actually based off of this work called the Forest Geoplot, or we like to affectionately call it the mega plot or the mega plot. So
The mega plot.
it is huge, you guys. So it is about 85 acres. So you guys will be doing 10 meter by 10 meter plots. This is 85 acres roughly of forest. Yeah.
How big?
Oh, I wish I had the little graph, but it's, yes, yeah, it's quite large. We monitor, so people go out and we resurvey, go out with their DDH tapes and their little, they have iPads now where they enter in all the data and they've got a map and everything's geotagged. They do this every 5 years. They monitor that. It actually takes 2 full summers to do one survey.
Except that after the first year, we decided that we were no longer monitoring the swamp.
Yeah, there is a swamp in the middle of that where that took so long there because it's, so for your protocol, we do every stem. So everything that's above 2.5 centimeters at that DDH height. That protocol is actually 1 centimeter. So like every shrub and rhododendron bush, and they had to do every single stem. And so in a swamp, it was just impossible.
Every poison sumac
Yeah.
stem.
So after they measured the poison sumacs, they're like, you know what, we don't actually need.
They measured them before they identified them.
Yeah, so that was problematic.
That was problematic.
Yeah, so they're not going to do that. They learned. But that's actually a job if any of you are graduating seniors and turning 18 mid-May through early August, you could come and work at Harvard Forest. We're hiring 8 to 10 people to come and like
This
literally
next summer,
do this. Yeah, this coming
it'll be
spring.
summer 2.
Yep.
finish up the mega plot.
So it's pretty awesome, yeah, field technician experience, if anyone likes that hands-on. stuff.
Teachers can do it too.
So I guess you're still teaching in May,
Oh, well, that may be in
but
trouble.
a lot of
Okay.
graduating seniors are usually typically
Yeah,
done by late
yeah.
May.
Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah, that's what is, so we do that on a huge scale at Harvard Forest, and it's actually standardized to plots that are around the world. So ours is looking at terrestrial ecosystems. There are tropical ecosystems that are, again, doing this exact same project. And what it has given us is it's given us this huge insight into.
oh, now you're giving away the answer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking. Never mind. Let's go back to asking you guys. The question on the table is, why do we care?
Why do we care? Don't be shy.
Yeah, if you guys want to like do a little maybe turn and talk to your shoulder partners there, why do we care? Why would
Yeah.
scientists do this kind of work? Thank you.
It does work.
Cool. So folks in the Zoom room, we're just asking, we're having some like small conversations and then we'll share out in a second. All right, guys. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Cool. So we're actually going to come around with a mic to each of our like student groups here. And you know, I was hearing really cool thoughts like coming up to the room, to the front of the room. So I'm excited. I can tell you all right now, like you guys are all on the right track and I'm excited to have you share out. And we're just sharing it on the mic because there is a classroom of students on Zoom. who are
Oh, why
joining
don't
us.
we pass the mic?
Yeah, that's what I was just
Let's
saying.
just pass the
Yeah.
mic. You take the first row, I'll second row.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do you mind, we can just start with you guys?
Here you go.
Oh, yeah, good job. Well played. So yeah, why do we care? Why do we do this kind of science work?
Okay, I don't think they were.
No, they don't, they'll be able to go. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we talked about how
Speak up so that those of us in the room can.
like if you have this data that you're monitoring, like the small 10x10 plot, you can kind of use it to understand like a bigger plot, like how the graph was for like per hectare. And then like once you know that, you can kind of use it to understand how to like take care of your forests better and conserve them.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thought. Thank you.
So in summary, he said, you start with a 10x10 plot. It gives you an idea what might be going on a 35, 85
Big scale. Yeah.
big scale plot. And then that helps you determine what you might want to do with your forest and how it's growing.
100%.
Okay, pass
Wonderful.
them. Okay, next group.
See what's dead or dying. or
See what's
has a
dead or
disease.
dying or diseased.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic answer.
Okay.
Yeah, monitoring, might we have some invasive pests or pathogens we didn't know about? That'll help us understand that. That's perfect. Awesome.
Okay, how about the next? Let's bounce
background.
back and then,
While we're doing this, I think it's really helpful to like check.
Yeah. Yeah, this is perfect, you guys.
We got.
Yeah, we need a healthy forest.
The
the
question
bottom
was,
line.
why do we care, right?
Yeah, why do we do this kind of work?
Well, one of the biggest reasons would be because there are a lot of animal species that rely on tree as shelter and for food. And also, I don't want to say for mental health reasons, but they do make the world prettier. And when we see pretty things, we feel that way. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Okay.
those are wonderful.
Okay,
Okay, you're on the same page.
so do
Okay.
you want to pass your mic to,
Well, I think, yeah,
you like to
or
comment?
do any of the teachers or coaches want to jump in?
no? Well,
Students, the students said it
I'm
well.
I'm just gonna say one of the things that the Harvard is known for is not only looking at what is growing there, but what the history of that parcel of land was in the past. And there was a time when it became really clear why we do that. The annual symposium that we had are people who run the Ediflex Tower. Maybe it was them, maybe it was the nitrogen people. One group of people were looking at data from 2 red pine stands. For the first 5 years of their monitoring, everything was exactly the same. And then on year 5, the data went haywire in one stand. It didn't match what had been going on in the past, and it didn't match what was going on in the other stand at the same time. And they said, I have no idea. We checked instruments. Everything seems to be fine. We have no clue why this is happening. And the director of the Harvard Forest turned and said, one of those was pasture land in the 1700s, and the other was plowed. And when they started to think about why it might have caused those differences, it made sense.
Are you guys ready for my soapbox that I'm going to stand on? We've got 2 minutes left, so this is perfect. I have about a minute soapbox. So here's my proverbial soapbox that I like to stand on. So like Anne was talking about, we know how the land at Harvard Forest was used, and we can actually see, like, plot by plot, you know, forest management choices in the 1700s. So things like clearing things for farming or pasturing, we can clearly see how those management choices 300 years ago are influencing the forest composition that we have today and how that forest is functioning. So what that means for us is that the management choices that we are making today with our forests, and to do that well, we need to be monitoring them like you will be. We are going to be influencing the future forests hundreds of years into the future, the choices we make now. So it's really important for us to know what's going on the ground. And those conservation and management choices really do matter, not just in the immediate future, not just in the next 50 years to help us fight climate change, though that is really important, but also what's coming down 7, 8 generations into the future. We impact that. You
That's
decide
impressive.
Thank you.
It's your choice in your town.
Right, all of you guys will be voting soon. Every town has to make choices about how to manage their open space and parkland. And those are things that are often, you know, go to vote. That's how we decide it.
And some of you may sit on conservation commissions or open space commissions.
Oh, you should, as soon as you turn 18, join those groups.
Open space committees or the select board.
Oh, some towns will allow under 18s. Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, hey,
That's awesome. Yeah.
yes.
Cool. So we have
Okay.
exactly 1 minute left. Questions? What questions might be on your mind?
I'd like to expand this a little bit beyond the schoolyard. We have several, we have an Audubon in our town.
Awesome.
We have Army Corps of Engineer land, a couple other locations. So I don't know that we'd be able to set something up permanently. But I think we could set up a 10 by 10 temporarily, get our numbers and then remove everything.
Yeah, but with Mass Audubon, we work with them very closely, and I'm getting a thumbs up from the Mass Audubon person behind you.
Matt Audubon would be very happy to have
Actually,
you do
I'm gonna
that.
just repeat that question for the folks in the Zoom room. So the question is, can we, you know, certainly we'll be setting up plots in your schoolyard, but if you want to expand to other plots in your town, 100%, we're so on board supporting that. And we have relationships with a lot of organizations like Mass Audubon, and Army Corps too, to like talk about how we could do that. DCR.
We can make it work in most places.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Well, awesome. So please join us. Tell me you guys want to participate. I'll put you on the list. And I hope that some of you are joining us. We're about to go outside and actually set up a sample plot so you can see exactly how it looks. So I hope you just stay in the room and then we'll go from there. No, we're not going. Where are we going, Brittany? In the lobby. Okay, awesome. Meet us in the lobby. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.